MTR fares will go up by 3.09% later this year. And the UN Security Council passes a resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The MTR Corporation will increase its fares by 3.09% this summer. This is the second fare hike after the company updated its fare adjustment mechanism last year. Musin reports.
The Census and Statistics Department today announced the wage index for transport sector workers in December last year, 5.2%, which contributed to the MTR's fare increase this year. How does the railway company calculate its fare adjustment? Three important factors are taken into account: the Transport Nominal Wage Index, the Composite Consumer Price Index, and productivity and profitability of MTR. One needs to add half of the Composite Consumer Price Index of December last year, which was 2.4%, and half of the wage index before subtracting the productivity factor, which was 0.6%. This leads to a 3.2% rise in fares. However, a ceiling is set to limit the fare rise. That is, the rate of increase of the overall fare adjustment should not be higher than the median monthly household income in the fourth quarter of last year, 3.09%. This means the fare increase of this year is 3.09%. The company said the implementation date and the new fare table will soon be announced. How do members of the public react to the fare increase? I don't think there's a need to increase the fare. Transport expenses are already expensive, this woman said. It would be good if the MTR service is improved, but if the service remains the same, I don't think they should raise the fare, this man said. The fare hike is capped at 3.09% this year because it triggered the mechanism ceiling. Lawmaker Gary John said this shows authorities need to review the factors included in the fare adjustment mechanism again. News 9, TVB News.
The High Court has declared the founder of online media HK01, Pun-hoi, bankrupt. That's after Yu defaulted on debt of more than $400 million. While Yu did not appear at the court today, his lawyer said Yu owns more than 54% of Nanhai Corporation shares, which are used as collateral for the debt. The lawyer said the shares are estimated to be worth $750 million and are enough to pay off the debt. The creditor questioned the reliability of the valuation report and the purported value of the delisted company. Yu's legal representative also sought to adjourn the hearing to allow more time to submit a 500-page audit report, but that request was turned down by the High Court judge, who said it was their last-ditch effort to delay the hearing. In declaring Yu Pun-hoi bankrupt, Deputy Judge Sarah Tong also ordered Yu to bear the costs of the court proceeding on an indemnity basis. Nanhai is the parent company of online news platform HK01. In a statement, the media outlet said its founder Yu Pun-hoi does not have an official role at the company. The bankruptcy case only involves Yu's personal financial arrangement and does not affect the media outlet's operations. The statement also wrote Yu will consider the next course of action after consulting legal opinions. Vice Chairman of Deloitte China Derek Lai, who specializes in corporate restructuring and insolvency, said when a company's boss goes bankrupt, his or her properties will be taken over by a fiduciary, which is a bankruptcy trustee to sell and manage. But the company's operations and employees will not be affected unless the company's funds were misappropriated to repay personal debt. There was applause at the UN Security Council chamber as a resolution was passed demanding an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The U.S. did not use its veto power as it had previously, instead abstaining, allowing the vote to pass. Hamas have welcomed the move, but Israel, in a show of anger, cancelled a delegation that's due to go to Washington. David Garrett reports.
After nearly 6 months of war in Gaza, for the first time, the UN Security Council has passed an immediate ceasefire resolution.
Will those in favour of the draft resolution contained in document S/2024/254 please raise their hand?
China agreed to vote in favour of a ceasefire for the remainder of Ramadan. The proposal also said that pause should lead to a sustainable ceasefire. Around the table, 13 other hands went up. The US ambassador to the UN did not vote in favour.
Those against?
The US not using its veto power.
Abstention.
A raised arm signalling an abstention, a pause in the room as the significance of the moment began to take hold.
The result of the voting is as follows: 14 votes in favor, 0 vote against, 1 abstention. The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 2728, 2024.
As the applause continued, the US insisted it has not changed its policy. It still backs Israel and condemns Hamas.
We did not agree with everything in the resolution. For that reason, we were unfortunately not able to vote yes. However, as I've said before, we fully support some of the critical objectives in this non-binding resolution, and we believe it was important for the Council to speak out and make clear that our any ceasefire must come with the release of all hostages.
China and other members favour an unconditional ceasefire. The resolution demands hostage releases but does not make it a condition. As Israel's ambassador said, it undermines efforts to secure their freedom. Leader Benjamin Netanyahu vowed in a statement to press ahead with Israel's offensive, blasting the resolution, saying it emboldens Hamas. China's permanent representative, Zhang Jun, said for many, the UN Security Council's resolution comes too late. But for millions still alive in Gaza, it brings hope. David Garrett, TVB News.
The Foreign Ministry called the decision of the UK and US to impose sanctions on Chinese companies and citizens over computer hacking a political manipulation. The US has issued a reward for information on 7 Chinese men the Justice Department has charged with a widespread cyberattack campaign. We urge the US and the UK to stop the smear, said spokesperson Lin Jian, adding cyber attacks on China must stop. Lin declared the government will firmly defend our interests. UK Deputy Prime Minister Oliver Dowden told Parliament in London that Chinese state-affiliated actors were responsible for attacks targeting the Electoral Commission between 2021 and 2022. The British government blamed APT31 Group for a hack that may have gained access to information on millions of UK voters. New Zealand has made similar accusations against Beijing. A New York judge decided on Monday to set an April 15th trial date for Donald Trump's criminal hush money case. The decision has upped the odds the former president will face at least one verdict that could complicate his bid to retake the White House. In the hush money case, Trump stands accused of criminally altering business records to cover up a $130,000 hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels shortly before the 2016 election. Trump's lawyers say the payment was meant to spare himself and his family embarrassment, not to help him win the election. Meanwhile, a New York appeals court on Monday agreed to hold off collection of Trump's more than $454 million civil fraud judgment if he puts up a $175 million bond within 10 days. If Trump does so, it will prevent the state from seizing the presumptive Republican presidential nominee's assets while he appeals. Trump held the ruling but criticized the date set for the hush money case trial.
We have a man who just ruled he'd like the trial to start in 21 days or something. And I don't know how you can have a trial that's going on right in the middle of an election. Not fair. Not fair.
And still ahead, Russian leader Vladimir Putin says Islamic extremists raided the Crocus City Hall, but the attack masterminds are yet to be found. In the U.S., a major leadership change at Boeing. Welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Monday the gunmen who killed 139 people at a suburban Moscow concert hall are radical Islamists. He also repeated his claim that Ukraine could have played a role despite strong denials from Kyiv. Tracy Furness has more.
Russian TV Monday showed workers clearing the site where a deadly attack at Crocus City Hall took place on Friday night, killing 139 people and injuring around 180. 2 days after the Islamic State's Afghanistan affiliate claimed responsibility for the attack, Russian President Vladimir Putin acknowledged during a meeting with government officials that the killings were carried out by extremists, but refrained from mentioning IS. Putin said, "We know that the crime has been committed by radical Islamists whose ideology the Islamic world has been fighting for centuries." Putin also stopped short of saying who ordered the attack, but said the United States, through various channels, is trying to convince their satellites and other countries of the world that, according to their intelligence, there are supposedly none of Kiev's fingerprints in the terrorist attack in Moscow. US intelligence has backed up the claims that the IS affiliate is responsible. Meanwhile, residents in Moscow Monday continued to place flowers and candles at a makeshift memorial for victims of the attack, while a Russian Orthodox priest conducted a service at the site, blessing the memorial with incense. And an awards ceremony was held in Moscow for 2 schoolboys who helped evacuate people from the concert hall in the aftermath of the attack. The 14-year-old boys, Islam Khalilov and Artyom Donskov, were working in the cloakroom of the concert hall when the gunmen began shooting at people.
Meanwhile, a leadership shakeup at Boeing as the CEO and other board members of the aircraft manufacturer resign over quality control failures. NBC News has more.
He's the CEO of one of the country's critical economic drivers. Now under pressure, Boeing's Dave Calhoun says he'll leave by year's end. After 5 years of crisis and groundings involving 2 MAX 8 crashes that killed 346 people, the MAX 9 door plug blowout, and quality control breakdowns across Boeing.
We're going to get ahead of all of the issues that either the FAA and, way more importantly, our own people bring to our attention, and we'll get ahead of it. That will happen.
It comes as the company is the focus of criminal NTSB and FAA investigations. Last week, FAA Chief Mike Whitaker told Lester he was surprised during meetings at Boeing that their priorities seem to be production, not safety.
I think it really shows how the mindset has been on production, and I think you would have expected at least more of a show of focus on safety, and that was lacking.
Calhoun responding today.
I recognized exactly what he was talking about because I heard it from all of our own people.
Airline confidence in Boeing has also been shaken following the door plug blowout.
It makes you mad. Tom, it makes you mad that we're finding issues like that on brand new airplanes.
In a stunning rebuke, a group of airline CEOs recently asked to meet with Boeing's board, but without CEO Calhoun. Now, with Boeing stock down 26% this year, the board is making big changes. In addition to Calhoun, the head of commercial aircraft is leaving. The head of 737 production has already left, and Boeing's board chair will not seek re-election.
Boeing needs to ensure the quality control and the safety metrics that the airlines are looking for.
Several airlines today said they're committed to Boeing as it moves to buy and integrate Spirit Aerosystems, its troubled fuselage maker. In an email to employees, Calhoun today said, "The eyes of the world are on us, and I know that we will come through this moment a better company."
Chief Executive John Lee said the government will focus on boosting the city's economy after the Safeguarding National Security Ordinance took effect. The CE also stressed those imprisoned for violating the national security law will typically not be granted parole because of the severity of their crimes. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Rule 69 of Hong Kong's prison rules was amended in lockstep with the Safeguarding National Security Ordinance coming into effect. According to the updated rule, those imprisoned for violating the national security law will not be granted parole. That is unless they are pardoned by the Commissioner of Correctional Services via a letter stating that the individual's release will not harm national security. Sources said activist Adamachan Man, who was sentenced to 5 years in prison for inciting secession, was not allowed to be released early despite his good behavior in prison. Chief Executive John Lee addressed the incidents prior to today's Executive Council meeting, emphasizing that the Commissioner of Correctional Services was acting according to the law.
For those convicted of national security offenses, which are grave offenses, we need to send a clear message. For someone convicted of those offenses, then normally there is no remission of sentence.
The CE reiterated the city can now pivot its focus to improving the economy after the legislation of the national security law and realization of the SAR's 8 centers, comprising the International Financial, Innovation, and Technology Centers. Lee also responded to criticism of the national security law made by some Western countries, calling them slanderous allegations.
Some countries, senior officials, whether former or present, have sometimes take pride in saying that they lie, they cheat, and they steal a defensive law, protect ourselves only, and that it has full safeguards for protecting human rights and freedoms, and also ensuring stability and security means good business opportunity for people to come to Hong Kong. We'll continue to do that. I'm sure that a lot of people who love Hong Kong.
Speaking about the government's announcement of the 14 designated locations taking part in the waste charging scheme trial, the chief executive said the community should be patient with the measure.
We
will be pragmatic in approaching this matter. We will have a task group for the premises. The task groups will keep an eye on the issues that come up during the demonstration scheme.
Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Hong Kong is holding its first international cultural summit at the West Kowloon Cultural District in an effort to cement the city's status as a hub where Eastern culture meets its Western counterpart. Timothy Lee again.
The 3-day summit is the first international event to kick off the SAR's 2024 Art Week. Chief Executive John Lee, as well as West Kowloon Cultural District Authority Board Chairman Henry Tang, were among honored guests at the event to deliver opening speeches. Authorities hope the summit will bring together cultural institutions from all around the world to share their insights into the evolving situation of the arts and museum sectors. Some distinguished panelists shared their views on the arts and museum scene in Hong Kong.
I'm pretty confident that the region has also a positive reaction to digital art way before other parts of the world. So I do believe that it just needs to be explained.
I think that it's absolutely essential that we, as museums, that we help to educate our audiences about the past, about the complexities of relationships over a long period of time. I think art is an absolutely critical way of engaging people on a longer perspective, beyond the short-term ups and downs of politics.
First of all, we have to acknowledge what a remarkable journey Hong Kong has gone on, and in what a really quick period of time. I think this is my first time back here in 4 years, and it's extraordinary to see these institutions fully formed to the highest international standards.
A representative from the Mongolian delegation to the event also took the opportunity to note how such cultural exchange events can foster closer ties between geopolitical neighbors.
I would say nomadic culture, it is a very common identity for people in Mongolia and Central Asia, as well as in China. Like, as we know, like there are a lot of people with nomadic heritage in the northern and northwestern and northeastern China. So, like taking this identity, like we have some like common heritage. All of the cultures, like there is no like border in the culture, so there is a common identity.
Several speakers expressed the hope of promoting further intercultural exchanges in Hong Kong in the future, with many viewing the city as the perfect link between East and West. Representatives of the museum sector shared the views about how museums should evolve in the 21st century at the Hong Kong Palace Museum today. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Sheikh Ali bin Rashid Al Maktoum of the United Arab Emirates said today he hopes to strengthen the connection between Dubai and the Greater Bay Area. This came after the prince signed a memorandum of understanding with the president of the Hang Seng University of Hong Kong, Simon Ho, to promote sustainable development. The collaboration will cover multiple aspects, such as training and research on green development. Sheikh Ali Al Maktoum also mentioned his plans after the establishment of a family office in the city.
what the city has to offer in terms of investment opportunities, and also deepening our roots or connection with the Greater Bay Area, and that is where Hong Kong comes into the picture and acts as a middle ground to connect us to the Greater Bay Area. Well, I'm looking at various sectors, and that is to real estate and development, tourism, fintech, AI.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.